up guys, thanks for tuning in on today's video. In today's review, we're going to be going over this 2020 BMW 330i xDrive. If you wanted to get into the BMW ownership experience, but you wanted to do it on a budget, by budget I mean about $40,000 to $42,000 starting, this would be the option that you would look at. Now this is the xDrive, and if you're actually looking to buy a BMW 330i, they're gonna give you two options, which is the one that is the base with the rear wheel drive, and then you have the one with the all-wheel drive, which is the xDrive, which is about $2,000 more. And a little disclaimer before we get further into the car's details, I've actually reviewed this mid-size entry-level sports / luxury sedans, and that was the Alfa Romeo Giulia, direct competitor of this car. So I'll be making some comparisons to that car. Of course, I haven't had the privilege of driving the other ones like the A4 or the C300, but either way, that's the one that I'll be comparing to the most. So let's go ahead and dive in. So the first thing that I want to address is actually going to be the interior, because we're already in here. And I must say that this car is very impressive in the interior design. I love how this car has like this silver aluminum style finish in the interior dash, and I absolutely love it. It kind of reminds me of kind of like these modern day or modern style homes or offices. One thing that I really will say that I love about this car is the screen here. You know, of course it has all of the driver, configuration, car configuration, music, entertainment. It's the whole deal here, and it's touchscreen unlike the Giulia. And right below the screen you do have access to the air conditioning unit, and I do love how the air vents are actually finished in like this silver chrome piece here. I think it looks really cool, very stylish. Even though this car is a mass-produced, entry-level car, I do love how they have like the buttons that control like the main air conditioning functions in that same silver finish. I think it's really cool, kind of like a little touch to detail there. As we move further along the center console here, we do see that this is finished in like this very nice dark wood trim. Again, it kind of reminds me of like that modern style office or modern style homes with like the integration of like this dark wood. It's very, very nice, very appealing. But one thing I will say that I don't like about this one in particular is the shift knob here. I was more of a fan of the previous generation. I think it looks so nice, but this one just really looks extremely cheap. It has like the unlock button here that's like in this really cheap plastic. When we're talking about visuals, it's a big turnoff for me. So now let's move on to the steering wheel and the driver focused area here. Steering wheel, I think it's phenomenal. I think it's a really nice design. I love how it has like the BMW sign right there, nice and proud. One thing I will say though is I'm not a real big fan of these paddle shifters. They're very cheap looking, and listen to this. Kind of feels like a toy. The Giulia's was a nice little click, and actually look, the Giulia's paddle shifters were, I believe, were aluminum, so when you would pass your hand, it would sound very nice, very like ASMR type of thing. This kind of just sounds cheapy, whatever. One thing I will say that I really like about this driver focused area here is the fact that they have a big screen where the tachometer, speedometer, and all of these different meters would normally be. And I absolutely love how they integrated the navigation system into that area. I think it really looks good. This car also comes with a sunroof, so that's a great way to top off the luxury feel of this car. So now let's talk a little bit about the seats. And the first thing I want to say is that I've always been a real fan of like the non-M seats that are in these BMWs, like this one in particular. I love the design. It's just very sporty, but at the same time it's very, very comfortable as well. In itself, the seats are not plushy at all. They're very stiff, so I think it's really good. On the back, actually, I really do like how you have like these holsters right here that are pretty good for all shapes and sizes. They do feel a little bit intrusive, but once you start to drive the car, it becomes very familiar and very, very comfortable. So if we come to the rear part of the car, you do see that it does have like that very nice continuation of the passenger and the driver's side, silver finish trim there. Of course, the black seats with the very kind of sporty and luxury design there. And over here, I mean, most of the times I've had a pretty big problem with sitting in the back of some cars, but this feels very, very spacious. I mean, look at this. I have about 2 or 3 inches of space between my knees and the chair, the seat. This car feels a lot more spacious than the Alfa Romeo Giulia. Absolutely. I mean, in that car, the back seats just look like they were just for decorations or for insurance purposes, really. All right, guys, so now that we've talked a little bit about the interior design and some of the functions that come with this car, let's take a look outside of the exterior design of this car, which is also very appealing, just like the inside of the car. So this car, again, has an exterior jet black paint color outside. It matches with the interior very, very well as well. You do see that there are some chrome pieces and silver finishes here and there. But let's take a look at the front bumper of this car. That's the first noticeable difference from the 6th gen to the 7th generation. Of course, the front bumper does maintain that iconic BMW design with the headlights and then the 2 separated big grills. I do love how the front bumper has changed immensely in terms of aerodynamics. I mean, the car looks a lot more sportier now than it did before. You do have a lot of like the aerodynamic type of transitions or type of changes. For example, this car actually has some air vents on the side of the bumper, and it just looks amazing. And on top of that, it's completely functional. Air will flow right through it and exit the bumper, obviously enhancing aerodynamics and of course reducing the overall drag that this car would get at higher speeds. Of course, along the sides you have these really nice wheels that are finished in like that aluminum silver color to contrast with the black color. Now, moving along the rear of the car, you will see that this car does have an updated tail light design from the previous gen. It has an LED strip, which is standard on these cars. The previous gen kind of had like this like bulgy type of design, where these are a lot more sleek. And you will see that there are 2 exhaust tips on the opposite side of each other. I love that design. It looks a lot more sports oriented and luxurious as well. The overall exterior design has improved drastically. It just looks so much more sportier. And all right, guys, so now that we've talked a little bit about the exterior and the interior, let's go ahead and talk about the driving capabilities and the performance aspect of the 330i. So this is a car that has a 2-liter twin turbo engine, and it pushes out around 255 horsepower, about 294 foot-pound-feet of torque. That torque is actually pretty interesting, and I'm very interested to see how that plays out. Again, this is all-wheel drive, so one of the cool things about that is you're gonna get some pretty nice launches. This does have 3 different driver settings, as most cars that are modern do. They have the sports setting, they have the comfort setting, and then you also have an Eco Pro setting. It's really just targeted to saving as much gas as possible, which, by the way, this car gets 26 in the city and about 35 on the highway. That's pretty average, I think, for, you know, these 4-cylinder turbos. All right, guys, so now that we're in sport mode, let's do our first launch of the day. That's pretty quick. I mean, the all-wheel drive helps a lot, and it's not really until you get to the 4,000 RPMs that you really start to feel the turbos kick in. Oh yeah. I stand corrected. I think at like 3,000 RPMs is when you start to get a little like push. A little pull rather. All right, guys, so let's do our first highway pull right now. Let's do it at 40. Nice little pop at the downshift. So it does have some power in there, and you can definitely feel the torque of the car, especially at like the lower RPMs, surprisingly. One thing I will say for sure though is that the shifts are not as instantaneous as the Giulia's was. They're pretty slow on the downshift side. Upshifting the car though, it's pretty spot on. So let's take this corner right now, getting off the highway. Extremely planted. Wow. That was really, really good. I'm really impressed with this car. That was a really crisp turn. I mean, yes, you did feel a little bit of roll, kind of like the weight transfer to the left side of the car, but I mean, guys, it's minimal. it's absolutely minimal. I mean, this car, for a car that, again, it's more luxury than sports car, it handles really, really good. And that was a pretty sharp turn at a pretty high speed. I mean, that was about 40 miles per hour, 45. When the boost kicks in, it kicks in. Oh yeah, that is really, really powerful for a 255 horsepower car. Really, really nice. I feel like it's a little bit more, to be honest. All right, guys, so let's tone it down a little bit. One of the cool things about this car is that it has a lane sensor, or I believe it's a camera that detects where the lanes are. So for example, if you start to go off the lane a little bit, it will actually correct it for you, which is really, really cool. I mean, that's something that's not completely new, but I guess it's one step closer to self-driving, essentially. Just cruising, you know, not really speeding or just going the speed limit right now, which I've been doing this whole time, by the way. It's very comfortable. I mean, the suspension is like a cloud. I mean, I'm honestly very envious right now, because in my 2010 Camaro SS, it's just so much more aggressive. And if I were to put it on sport mode right now, there's a little bump here. Nothing. Very, very comfortable as well. And I love how this car doesn't compromise in sport mode. I mean, you know, usually when you go in sport mode with a sports car, it enhances the suspension capabilities, but then it compromises the comfort and drivability of it just because you're in sport mode. But this car, I mean, it's crazy. I'm in sport mode now, and it feels like I'm in the comfort mode, yet I was able to take those turns with a lot of ease. It's just fascinating how well the suspension is right now. Whether it's a weekend warrior or whether it's a daily driver car, you're gonna have a lot of fun when you're just cruising on the highway, or, you know, taking turns pretty aggressively in the city. But it is a really, really fun drive overall. But I do have to say that the exhaust from the factory is pretty good. I mean, I love how it does have like a little backfire here and there. I'm pretty sure with a tune, you could probably have it sounding like the M3 that I reviewed. You can check that in the card above or in the link in the description below. This car also sounds a lot better than the Giulia, by far. Yeah, man, this thing pulls. That is a lot of fun, guys. For a 4-cylinder twin turbo car, that's a lot of fun. When the boost kicks in, this thing really, really moves, guys. It's really fun. The boost, I think, actually hits a lot harder than the Alfa Romeo Giulia. Definitely. I think the Giulia had more of a progressive feel, kind of like what the Camaro feels like, but this is really like, it goes. It like, once the boost hits, it hits. This is our last launch control for today. Alright guys, so that pretty much concludes the review for the 2020 BMW 330i. I hope you guys found this video informative and somewhat entertaining. Let me know in the comment section below what was your favorite part of this video. What was your favorite aspect of the car? Personally, I think the best part about this car was the actual driving portion of it. I was actually so surprised as to how powerful this car feels and how quickly it moves and how it handles. Also guys, don't forget to like this video as well. It helps out with the algorithm. I want to get this video on the top of the search playlist, and it also helps out with the ego too, not gonna lie. And guys, as always, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Let's get to 2,000 subscribers by the end of this year. That is the goal for 2020. And also don't forget to hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of my videos, my reviews, my vlogs, my showdowns, anything in that nature. So guys, thank you so much for watching this video, and I will catch you on the next review. Take care.